All right, so as I sit here in the airport and impatiently wait to get on this voyage to England and the long flight that's going to be, wanted to come get my thoughts and get my reactions to a fight that may have flown under the radar this weekend, but a fight that nonetheless I do think that deserves some shine because out there in LA, while I was at Teofimo Lopez versus Rolly Romero, there was another card, and it was the butterfly brawl. A lot of good prospects on that card. And one fight that was very notable was between a fighter that I just had here on this channel, that I just interviewed on this channel within the last week or so. And that was none other than, Deangelo Muscle Evans. He went viral in his last fight for getting a big knockout with a left hook. And also, his facial features in just the way I guess you could say, the way he looks like Mike Tyson, right? So he was a very intriguing guy. He was taking the internet by storm. And, was coming from a place in Durham, North Carolina that's not known for its boxing. It's known more for its basketball and like the Duke Blue Devils and things like that. But he made some waves with the last knockout he got. He was fighting Moises Garcia from Mexico. Very interesting fighter. He's a guy that doesn't have a pretty record. He's a guy that really and truthfully, when you look at just his year so far, his last fight, Moises Garcia, they brought Moises Garcia in to lose. He was supposed to be a stepping stone for Scooter Davis, who's a top-ranked prospect, and he fought Scooter Davis tooth and nail, and a lot of people feel like he was hard done by the judges, and he should have beat Scooter Davis, and that Scooter Davis got a good decision in that fight, and that's before Scooter Davis even had his last fight where people thought he lost that fight as well. So, Deangelo Evans had the pretty record, 15-0, but hadn't really fought anybody. Moises Garcia had the not-so-pretty record, 8-6-3, but he had fought a couple of people, like most notably Scooter Davis, in which a lot of people thought he won. So they met in Santa Monica at the pier, and Deangelo Evans, he was up on the cards. He was winning going into the fifth round. He was up 39 to 37 on two of the judges' scorecards, and Moises Garcia broke him down. He has that Mexican style. He comes forward and he set up a big time liver shot, and he landed the liver shot right here on Deangelo Evans, and ultimately doubled him over and had him wincing on the floor in profuse pain, and he couldn't get up, and that was probably the upset of the weekend. There were no big upsets on the Rolly Teo card, but this is probably the upset of the weekend because, like I said, Deangelo Evans was a guy that was starting to make a little bit of noise just because of his last knockout. People were really intrigued about him. And for all intents and purposes, unfortunately, I like the young man, and I wish the best for him. I really enjoy my time with him. But he did get exposed. When you're fighting guys that you're supposed to knock out and you're knocking them all out, and then you fight a guy like this who you were supposed to beat, but is tough and did show a whole lot of resistance to another top prospect in Scooter Davis. And in some people's eyes, arguably beat him. When you fight a guy like that and you don't beat him, it lets you know that where you're at right now. And listen, people say getting exposed. When I say fighters get exposed, that it's like this bad thing. I don't think getting exposed is a bad thing. I get exposed. I've been exposed here on YouTube plenty of times. For bad takes, maybe not having some of my facts straight. And you know what it forced me to do? It forced me to come back and get better and better and better and better. And because of that, that's why I'm still here, and that's why I'm still going, and that's why a lot of you guys rock with your boy BT and Brendan Taylor in the channel we got here, and the channel formerly known as True School Sports, right? So it's no different with boxing. He got stopped in the fifth round. From what I saw, from because I can't find the full fight anywhere, but from what I saw in the clips that I could find, he just looked like he couldn't deal with the volume and the pressure of Moises Garcia, and that's what it was. So Garcia. And look, this video just isn't about Deangelo Muscle Evans getting exposed and losing for the first time, and I do wish he comes back better because I like him a lot, and I think he does have good things to offer to the sport of boxing, and I am a firm believer that one loss does not define a fighter. However, this video is to also highlight a Mexican fighter who does not have a pretty record, who probably should have got more shine earlier in the year when he fought Derek Scooter Davis and a lot of people thought he won. He gave him a good fight, and he didn't get the decision in that fight. But he made sure he come back. He came back for this fight, and he said, you know what? I'm not going to leave it in the judge's hands. I'm not going to, leave things to chance. I got the judge right here, and I got the jury right here, and I'm going to make sure, all parties involved, get active in the ring come fight night, and that's what he did. So that being said, good game plan from him and his coach. They were very hell bent on breaking down the body of Deangelo Evans, and like I said, Evans is a guy that does not have a lot of experience. He's a guy that just so far he's been getting by on athleticism and punching power and things like that. And this is part of the learning curve. And sometimes the curve ain't so smooth. This is part of the process of learning how to really fight on the world-class level. And we'll see how it goes. Like I say, I think it's best to judge fighters not just for how they are when they're winning, but also how do they respond to a loss. And it's happened early in his career. Doesn't mean it's the end for him. It's all incumbent and all dependent upon how he handles it. And look, I saw people posting about this fight when he lost on Instagram, and I seen a lot of fighters whose names I never heard of, but apparently they were supposed to get a fight with Deangelo Evans, and he turned it down, or his team turned it down, or whatever the case may be. So they took it upon themselves to say, you know what? Well, hey, this is what he gets for not fighting me, and he ducked me, and I see why they want to fight me. And my thing is this, man. Look, have your fun, but don't think it can't be you. It could always be you. So, if you're a fighter out there pointing fingers and laughing at Deangelo Evans, remember, it could always be you on any given day, and you too could be a meme soon. So, keep your feet on the ground. But yeah, brilliant upset. You can never underestimate one of these Mexicans with these crazy records. Garcia was 8-6-3, battle tested. Deangelo Evans, not so much in terms of his professional experience. He's in fighting mostly guys that would fall over at the first sign of adversity. And so when he got some real resistance here, he couldn't really handle the heat. And it's a big reality check for him. And I'm very intrigued to see how he responds, because for my 20 minutes talking to him, or however long it was, he struck me as a very matured person and a hard worker. And so I think those things will prove to be true, and he will do those things. He'll be mature, and he'll work hard, and he'll do his best to get back to where he needs to be. But it's a big reality check, and it goes to show you, man, you can look good fighting subpar competition, but ultimately, you don't really know until someone gets resistance. So let it be a warning to any of you guys out there that are just so quick to crown Moises Garcia before he fights Phil Hergovich in England. But yeah, those are my thoughts, man. Respect the bullfighters, respect the Moises Garcia for putting himself on the map, and hopefully this can lead to bigger and better fights for him, because he's had a great 2025, giving Scooter Davis a tough fight, now upsetting Deangelo Evans. And for Deangelo Evans, hey, now you're going to see, do you really want this? Do you really want to be, as he said in our interview, do you really want to be one of them ones, one of those household names like he said he was? So, again, I won't give him a death sentence because of a loss. Let's see how he responds. And let's tip our cap to the Mexican Bam Bam, Moises Garcia, for one amazing performance over the weekend and the upset of the weekend. So I'll leave it at that.